Thanks for having me, for allowing me to share. I am Joanne. Uh, I want to say, actually, I believe that I have recovery and that I'm a recovered codependent and Al-Anon. And I actually really identify with the word excitaholic because, man, I love life to be exciting, and I find it really uncomfortable when it's not. And so how appropriate to call today's talk all in, because that's how I feel often, is like I'm all in or I'm not. Um, and so I started thinking about all in. I've never played poker before, but I hear that that's a poker term. So I like Googled it. Hey Google, what does it mean to be all in for poker? And so I found out that, let me read it to you. Well, let me tell you what Alexa would say. When a player goes all in, they're committing their entire chip stack to the pot. In a poker hand, you can bet at maximum the money or chips you have left on the table. So I'm going to get more into that after. But I started thinking about, okay, what are things in life like that are all in? So I realized when I got pregnant 3 times, I had to be all in. Like, I'm growing this baby. My body's doing this. And then even more so, I at the end of my pregnancy, where I have to push out a baby. Sorry guys, you can probably imagine what's going on, but I feel like this is a very appropriate all-in thing. Um, when you push out a baby, you have to be all in. Like, it's not going anywhere. This pain literally is not going anywhere until you push through it. Hey Ema, sorry, that's my friend Ema. She's here. Good to see you. Um, and so yeah, like you got to be all in if you're giving birth to a baby. Like, there's no going back. Um, I think about like my kid Henry, especially if you've heard Josh talk before. He's 4 years old. He is one of the most social, extroverted humans I've ever met. He is all in with just about everything in life. And so one day it was like pouring rain, kind of like how in the movies, you see like the downpour, and it's like you could like actually take a shower. There's that much pressure coming from the rain above us. And he just decides, like, I am gonna go get wet. And he darts outside. He's running around like he is so happy. He is all in. Like, it's either you're going to get wet in this rain or you're going to stay dry and stay inside. There's no in between. You can't go outside, and it's just, it's all in. And I mean, he eventually pretty much disrobes and just really has a great time. Um, and so the other thing I was thinking of is, you can see behind me, we have some equipment. Some of it's homemade, some of it's not. And with physical health, I realized, like, my husband and I, Josh, we decided we're gonna start to take some discipline in our physical health. And so you start exercising. But, like, let me tell you, if we're out eating pizza every night, or we're out, getting fast food, how effective are my workouts going to be? It's kind of for nothing. And I might even gain more weight and it might be worse off. I mean, it's not bad to exercise, but again, if I want to see results, I have to be all in. Um, I thought about too about I identify as being Christian, and in our Bible, our good book, in the last book of the Bible, in Revelation, Jesus is talking about, to these churches, he's saying, like, either you're hot or you're cold. Either if you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. And so just this concept of, like, we cannot have one foot in and one foot out. Like, we can't live life on the fence. We have to be all in. And I mean, we could do it, but it doesn't go over very well. And so I was thinking about, back to this poker thing of not knowing how it works, but knowing this idea of committing my entire stack, my chip stack, to the pot, and just like giving it everything I got and banking everything I got on this hand. I started thinking, like, what are the chips of our lives? What are the chips of my life? What are the things that I have in my hands that make up my life? And so, I have a job or a purpose. We have family, perhaps. Maybe we want kids or have kids, relationships, money, status, how we look, our security, all of these things are really the chips of our lives. They're the things that, make up the bulk of our life, right? And so I guess I asked myself the question is like, am I willing to put all of these things forward, especially as I've now entered into recovery? Am I willing to give all of these things over, as LifeLab talks about, as Christianity even talks about, even what 12-step programs require is saying like you got to be willing to put all on the line, because my self-will has gotten me this far and it's not gone out very well. The first step even just says like, hey, I realize I have a problem. I realize that I'm lacking power, I'm powerless, and my life is becoming unmanageable. And it is unmanageable, and it's getting more and more unmanageable the more time goes on, and I don't do anything about it. And I don't actually explore, maybe I need a different power source. And so I was thinking about too, like, what does it mean to be all in? Like, really? And I think the thing that came to me was that being all in requires me to trust. It requires me to trust the process or the person or the thing, whether it's like a trust fall, like, those classic trust falls you do at camp or something. And it's like you fall back. Well, you're all in at that point. Either you're going to fall back on your back and hurt yourself, or someone's going to catch you, or maybe a few people are going to catch you. So it does require trust. And then if there's any lack of trust, maybe you're not even fully sure, like maybe you're not 100% trusting, then I have to have faith to fill in the gap. I have to have faith, because being all in is risky. And I think that this poker move probably is risky. And so before recovery, before I entered LifeLab, before I was just going through life, not really knowing, not aware of the things that were going on, not aware of how I was really stepping on the toes of other people. And I blamed everyone for my problems, really. And so I was all in this life. I had this obsessive mind. My obsessive mind would take me to be all in. It would take me to places where it followed me everywhere I went. I put a lot of time and energy into my obsessive mind, into these thoughts, into trying to work things out, into trying to control things, and people. And so it got my full attention, and it really came with me everywhere I went. And my selfishness, again, it's all about me. It's this all-consuming thing. My old way of living, whether and for you, it could be your addiction. It could be, if you're here as like an Al-Anon or anything like that. Like it really, it is all. It can be all-consuming, and so it requires me. This way of living requires me to give everything I got somewhere. Um, I love the big book, this process I got to go through with BBA, which is a big book awakening. And it asked me the question, or begged me to think about either God is nothing or God is everything. And so I'll come back to that, but it's like often I would be asked, well, how's that going for you? My self-will, my self-reliance. How's that going for you? Is it producing the results that you would like? Are you happy? Are you enjoying life? Do you feel happy and free? Or are you irritable, discontent? Are you not very fun to be around? Are you causing tension in the room where you go? I'm not asking you guys that. It's more people asking me that because that's what I did. And that's, if I am not connected to God, that's what I will do. And so how is this self-reliance going for me? How, either I get to be all in for God, and I get to be either all in, for God being nothing or God being everything. So we got to do this really great exercise, like I was saying, where I went through a whole day and asked lots of different questions, but I went through one day where I had to believe and look through the lens that God was nothing. And so questions like, how would that then affect my personal relationships? Am I prone to misery and depression? Am I, let me see, I wrote some of these down. Like, am I able to make a living? Is life successful? Am I happy? All these different things. And so if God is nothing, it was really hard actually, because if God was nothing, I realized that I would have to be the one that ran the show. I had to make everything happen. It was up to me in the end. It was all reliant and dependent on me. And if I really soberly look at my life and look at my past, I haven't really done that great of a job. I can think, and nostalgia and delusion will maybe try to be like, well, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. But it actually was. Things were that bad. And so going through this God is nothing, it was really depressing because it meant that I would end up alone. It would mean that, God didn't exist. And so I had to be the power, and realized I was powerless. I realized my life was unmanageable. So it just didn't work out very well. So then the next day, thankfully, I got to go through the process to look at life through the eyes of if God is everything. And like, man, like personal relationships, like I can be honest now. I can find freedom now. I can say I'm sorry. I can be humble. I can actually pack into the stream of life good things. I can bring life where I go. I can bring light as opposed to this tension and this darkness and different things that I realized that I was living in. And so I asked also myself the question of what holds me back from being all in? Like, so why is it, if I really believe God is to be everything and I want him to be everything, why is it that I don't do that? Like, why do I hold on to this self-reliance? And so I think that again, it goes back to that of just like, it's my fear. It's my fear that maybe God doesn't exist. It's my fear that he's going to fail me. It's my fear that like, what if this is all crazy? Like, what if I have bought into something? And again, what if in the end it's up to me to control everything? I just like, I'll go back to square one and I'm screwed. And so that's, I guess, maybe where the faith piece comes in. That's where the trust part comes in, and just be like, I got no other options now. I'm all in. I have to have God or else I'm bust. Like I've kind of gotten to that point in life. And so, um, let me just keep going here. I tried to and also I just really want to say a few times actually throughout this talk that I am grateful that the program of LifeLab, I'm grateful that any 12-step program, I'm grateful that the Bible talks about we are in a process. It is about our progress. It is not about perfection. It is about our willingness. And that's why I actually believe that it's possible to go all in into recovery, because all that it starts with and all that is required is my willingness. Am I just simply willing to take a step? And so, like, even as I look at the 12 steps that I was able to go through, am I willing to believe I'm powerless? Am I willing to see and be honest the things that are going on? Am I willing to turn my life and will over to the care of God? Am I willing to make a fearless and searching inventory of my life? And again, get honest. Am I willing to admit the fears that are going on and really begin to see them? And if I can't see them, ask God, be willing to ask God, can you show these things to me? Can you gently show me where I am to blame for these things that have happened? For in these relationships, am I willing to make amends to people? Am I willing to say I'm sorry? Am I willing to to the best of my ability be blameless, ask God to help me be blameless? And am I willing to take people through the work? Am I willing to tell other people about it? And so really this all in concept is just that of a willingness to trust this process, because it's good and it's life-giving. And at the very least, I have seen so many people's lives be turned around. I've seen people, or even heard stories, maybe not so much seen always, but like heard stories about the before and afters. And like, I can definitely say like, wow, like this person is living a good life and they're saying that this is what it was like before and now this is what it's like. All right, I got to trust that. Um, like for me, when I came into recovery, I saw especially like John and Josh go through this rigorous process of recovery. John joked about like you got to sit in the front row to stay sober and to get sober and whatever, and you got to show up and be seen and put yourself out there. And it was like, okay, like if I'm going to start this recovery process, like either I'm doing it or I'm not doing it. Like either this is gonna work for me or it's not going to. And that was a thing also that my sponsor would talk me through is like you just got to give yourself over to this, trust this process. It will work. This does work. um and I know like even when I thought about like the big book talks about half measures avail us nothing. So I can't just half do it. Today I spilled I didn't wrap up my pork tenderloin that was in a vacuum pack in my fridge, and I came to it. It had thawed out overnight or over the last couple days, and like there was pork tenderloin juice, aka nasty blood, that was like all over in my fridge, and it was dripping down the back, and it dripped onto some things, and it was like it was disgusting. Like that freaks me out so much. I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna give my whole family salmonella and it's over. Um, so what do? I take everything out of the fridge. I like got my little Lysol wipes. I'm like using anything that I can to soak it up and then like cleanse it and make sure that it's not dripping into my vegetables and all of the things. I can't just like leave some of it. Like that was the thing. I was like, ugh, I got to take this whole thing apart. I can't not. Um, oh, it says my internet connection is unstable. Can you still hear me? I hope so. Um, yes. So I couldn't just leave some of it behind. Like I had to take all the stuff out. I had to wipe everything down because if I leave some of it, it's going to contaminate everything else. And so that was again, just another picture to me today of like, I got to be all in for recovery. I can't just leave some of the stuff. I can't just leave a few amends behind. I can't just like, maybe do a little bit here and try a little bit here. Like if I am going to do this, I have to do it all and do it thoroughly and to the best of my ability. And the beautiful thing is it's not one and done. It's not like you do it one time through and you're good for life. Like you're not. Thankfully, God is good and patient and kind, and He helps us along the way and gently points out stuff maybe later on, maybe in a few years when I'm actually ready to receive it or actually able to walk through it or actually able to see it. But I can't go through and just half my way through it. Like you just, it's really not going to work. It requires all of us. This recovery work, this healing work requires all of us. And so um, I'm trying to think if I should share this part. I have a couple minutes. Okay. Um, over the past few weeks, I slipped into a little bit of self-pity. I slipped into a little bit of like, yeah, feeling sorry for myself. My family was sick. I was taking care of everybody. I had all these other things going on, and I was the hero. And I saw more clearly than ever before. And the beautiful thing is, I'm taking one of my sponsees. We walked through the third step together this last week, and like I saw it. I was like, "So, do you want God to be the director of your life?" And I'm sitting there being like, "Is God the director of my life? Am I still trying to put everybody in roles? And they keep failing me. And then they get mad at me. They retaliate, as the big book would say. And and I just realized like this control that I had, um, yeah, just that I was still trying to run the show, that I was still trying to be God and play God, and it wasn't coming off well. It wasn't working. And so, again, with this idea of being all in, like, am I willing to actually just play my role and be Joanne, be the purpose, and do what it is that God has for me instead of trying to do all the things that aren't for me? And it just, that's part of my addiction. That's part of my sickness. I try to do everything and I say yes to everything, and I'm of no use to anyone and anything when I do that. And so, oh, that's my timer. I'll wrap up. And so, really, it seems to me that I need to be willing in order for this all-in concept to work. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but that's not what's required. Perfection is not required. Progress and willingness is required. And so I guess just leaving with it is just like, what is my heart posture? Like, what is the posture of my life? Am I soft? Am I willing? Do I have a humble heart? And again, am I willing? Am I willing to try? Or do I have pride? Do I have self-will? Do I have a hard heart that is trying to run the show and try to be God? Because you can't really work with that. It's soft or hard. It's humble or it's pride. It's hard when it's like, it feels like it's so black and white. How could it just be this or that? But it kind of seems to be that way in this case. And you can challenge me that on the shares if you want to. But yeah, that's pretty much what I want to share today. And just as that encouragement of being like, it is possible to be all in with this. And actually, I've seen it in other people's lives and I've seen it in my own life. When I go all in with this, with recovery, with LifeLab, with just wanting to follow Jesus, uh, it's like it really does change everything. And I have found more freedom. I have seen relationships flourish. I've been at peace in my own mind and in my own life like never before. And that's because of God. That's because God's going to come in and do that work. And He's going to take my little tiny morsel of willingness and He's going to do the healing and He's going to do the transformation and He's going to grow whatever it is He wants to grow. And I get to witness it and I get to like be amazed and in awe and like that to me is really life. Like that is life worth living. And that's all I got. Thank you for listening, guys.